Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start recording, just so we have all this for future questions. But a lot of the first probably 30, 45 minutes of this video is just going to be us chatting. So if everybody could just kind of pause whatever you're doing, we have to talk. Parker, we have to talk about this tardiness issue. So I'm picking so Parker is the first subject of our talk. I don't know if y'all were able to hang out last night or make it on Tuesday to see portfolio reviews. Parker and Dylan went and they freaking killed it. Like they killed it. It was awesome. So
when did y'all get to it?
It was you were the last two, weren't you?
It was like 9 o'clock.
Okay,
yeah, it was pretty late. So.
Late.
I will say the rest of the animators are going tonight, including Amy, Caroline, Tanner. Who else is?
Eli.
Eli is going.
I'm actually the first animator of the night.
Are you?
Yeah.
So come out and see that. But when you come out to see that, try to get somebody else in here and in the background. Try to try to not rub on each other's faces or try to give each other a little bit of distance. I know it can get a little crowded in that room, but more than anything, we're just wanting to eliminate or mitigate the spread of any deadly diseases. Which brings us to topic number 2. Segue from happy things. If you decide you're skipping that one, we totally understand. I think that the big thing I would say is just be safe. I was talking to a friend of mine just now, and he said that the best way to kind of handle your day-to-day life is just to assume everybody around you is sick, and act that or do what you would do if they were just covered in snot and coughing. Just don't. If you would. Of course, be nice to them, but don't go touching on them or rubbing your and then shaking their hand and rubbing your face. Dang it! I just totally did that on camera. No, it's not that everybody is sick. That's the way you prevent spreading this, right? Obviously, the world is in a mild, frantic. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I'm sure you all have that question too. Did you get an email from Marty just now? You did? Okay. A large portion of the people did not. So there will be one coming soon, but I'm going to post in just a few minutes a link on B2L in the news, and I'm going to want you to fill that out. It's basically a survey. So what we're trying to figure out right now is what happens when something happens. I really think that it's just based off of what the rest of the world is doing right now. UT has gone completely to online classes. Vanderbilt, I think, has gone online or just closed down. I can't remember. Berea College just was hey, guess what? Whatever your grade is today, that's your grade for the class. We're shutting down, right? I know. Everybody has a different response. Each of those responses are kind of tiered based on who gets to make that decision, right? Because I can't say, hey, we're just going to keep staying in class every day no matter what the governor says, right? That's not the way this works. It basically goes from the CDC makes a suggestion, I guess, this is what we think you should be doing, but the CDC doesn't really have any power. And then each of the local and state governments and everything makes declarations of, right now, I think is it Seattle or Chicago just said that no gatherings larger than 250 people.
Just
Seattle.
Yeah.
All of these different things are coming down from the top. The highest step at the university is obviously what those emails you're getting from Will C. Bishop or the president that says this is what ETSU is doing. One of the most recent ones at the end of the day yesterday, we got the no domestic travel, which is one of the reasons I'm assuming most of you got the email about it who were planning on going to ECGC. We're having to cancel that trip because of that.
I'm not going to Texas now.
What's in Texas? Cowboys?
Mission trip.
Oh, okay.
Remember I told you about that?
Oh yeah, I forgot. I thought you were just going. Yeah, I mean,
ultimatum.
To be fair, all those people who are going to go to South by Southwest aren't going to Texas now either. So.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I got it read.
I've been to Texas. It's really hot. So, so as the sort of the, I don't want to say orders, as the way we are handling this sort of steps down, we are trying to be prepared for our version of that, right? For digital media's version of that. And if the president of the university says we're shutting down tomorrow, classes are canceled from here on out, how does that affect you? How do we continue to do? How do we make sure that that is the least impact as possible on you and your academic career? I don't think that's what they'll say. I think that more than likely we're probably going to hear something like classes until this date are completely online. That affects you pretty significantly too, right? Because some of you are like, I don't have a computer, or I have a computer but it won't run Maya, or my computer runs Maya but it takes forever to render, right? I think the first thing I want you to know is that we are not going to do wrong by you. That is, at least I can say that for the faculty here. We're thinking about how is this going to be the least amount of negative impact on you as possible, right? There's not gonna be like, classes are canceled, so we fail you all. Like, that's not how any of this should work, right? And recognize that we're trying to come up with sort of our version of that response. And it can be a variety of different things depending on what the school's response, what the state's response is. We've looked at everything from completely online classes where we basically just business as usual. We just have to figure out a way for you to do these classes at home. And I know that some of you, that's the big conundrum, like you don't have these computers at home. We've looked at everything from how can we get you software? How can we change the way we teach the classes? Do we just continue to teach the classes and not have assignments that are due? And instead the rest of this class becomes theoretical. Do we literally unplug these computers and send them home with you? Like, that is an option that we have considered.
Are you serious?
And like literally, like we're probably like, we're not going to ECGC. That means parts of the budget has changed, which means we're also like, the software you can't get from home, can we just buy you that software, like for 2 months or whatever? We're going to try our best to not let this like completely derail your academic experience this semester. Recognize there's only so much we can do, and that means that stuff may fall short. And so it may be like we have to make slight changes to the way the classes work. Maybe we drop a project, or we make the second half of the semester's project's grades worth less than the first half, or something like that. And we also don't necessarily know what the university's response is going to be in terms of the labs. It feels sort of like a not very thoughtful to say, we're shutting down classes, but you all come on in here and keep like touching all over the computers and sitting 2 feet apart from each other and all of that. So like, it may be stuff like, we have reserved times that you can use the labs, and we can only have 5 people in the lab at a time, or we don't know. So just keep in mind, like, we don't know what all the answers are. We need more information from coming down to make those decisions, but we also need to know stuff from you. So what I'm going to do, really quickly, if you could hop onto D2L, in the course home, I'm just going to do a new news item, and then let me get to my Gmail really quick. Gmail. So I'm going to post a link to a Google survey in here. This link is information for us. Survey for virus. That just sounds survey. It's survey. Publish. So you should now be able to see that in D2L. I will also go ahead and post it in my other class really quick, just so I don't forget. If you could just take a minute to fill this out just so Marty has all the information that we need. So just to kind of make this make sense, right? If this survey comes back and it says 90% of our students don't have access to a computer, then the idea of sending home computers with 90% of our students isn't possible, right? We don't have that many. If it comes back and says only 5% of the students don't have the software they need to do their classes, right? Then we'll just buy that software and get it for you, right? So it's stuff like that we need to kind of know. We need more information on how to make our decisions, right? So if you could just take a minute, fill this out. That way he's getting as much of that information as he can. I think at the same time he's trying to send it out to all of the students in digital media. It's getting blocked right now because he's trying to send it to 300 students. You only have to fill it out once. If you get this email from Marty, it's kind of the department version of this talk that I'm giving right now. Recognize that if you filled it out in this class and hit submit, he has that information already. So, okay. After y'all finish filling that out, we'll keep talking. You know, the two flavors I would have not thought to mix together were mango and hibiscus. I didn't even know hibiscus was a flavor, but these are good.
They're edible, actually.
Yes.
So, which was really most likely sufficient. No, what was the tutor? I'm still willing to do that online
That might be something that happens.
I was thinking maybe should I just write that in there?
Mention that in there, Marty, and I'll also let them know. Because I think that it'll basically be like if we go to online for the principal's classes, then it would be just like all the other people who are taking the class online right now. Right. And so that'll be very handy. It's going to be really hard to go online for stuff like principles of visualization. I don't know what the plan is there.
So this might be more of a question to ask Chair, but like, so if the school gets closed down for the rest of the semester, or we go strictly to online for the rest of the semester, how does that affect portfolio review, like in terms of the presentations?
We're hoping we get through the presentations tonight.
No, I mean for the final.
Right, I think we'll get through the presentations tonight. The final, I don't know.
Okay.
The other thing like it affects is stuff like the end of the year showcase.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe
Basically this giant party with cake. And like that seems like a bad idea in a pandemic, right? So other things that I was thinking about on the way in. The president of the university usually shakes hands with about 1,800 people every semester as you get your diploma. Like this may affect how graduation happens.
I waited 5 years for this.
I know.
No!
My guess is what would end up happening. I am purely speculating that if that happened, they would defer your graduation to like next semester or something. That way, it's a safer time to do it. Basically, everybody could walk on that day. That you would get your
The
degree.
ceremony or like the actual grades?
I would say the ceremony. No, you.
Okay, because like I can't do another semester.
No. You wouldn't take another semester of class. That would be my guess. Is that they would say we're not going to walk this semester. The ceremony will be next.
I'll have to wait
Okay.
11 semesters.
I don't know. I wouldn't hope ever. It could just be the president of the university wears a really nice set of latex gloves, and so do you. And so, like your graduation picture is gonna look like it.
Gloves and masks.
Okay, so what I would say is I do want to turn this into a conversation though. I need to casually find out information from you as well, just as this class. So I would like to have a little bit of time where you can ask questions, where we can sort of bounce around ideas and stuff like that. Nick, you had your hand up. What was it?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like this is a food for thought, but like if let's say the school gets like shut down for like a series of amount of time, then and you need like people to come into the lab to do some work because this is where they can work. Then you can allow people who are in portfolios, allow them to come in and the upper students come in, but have the lower students that you can just work at home or something because they're like principal classes and stuff.
We don't know. I think it also depends on what does it mean when we go purely online? Does it mean that the university locks down all of the buildings and we're just not allowed to come in here anymore? We don't know. So I think that I think that the big takeaway is we don't know. But, yeah,
If
part
we're quarantined to like, I'm pretty sure you can't even leave your county, like whatever county you're in, you can stay in.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain, like, they'll be at the lines.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Yeah, quarantine, like, and I don't, I think right now they're trying to, not have to declare quarantine. Like, I think they're basically like, let's just self-police travel. And, you know, of course, like, I think they're nationally, I don't think we're doing much international travel now. I think you can.
They
but-
ban that too.
Yeah, so like, there's a lot to think about.
Get to quarantine my mom.
Oh, I'm sure your mom is lovely.
She
Like,
is,
she's
but
a
I
great
just
person,
can't-
Parker. Yeah. Maybe don't share this link to the video. My mom is lovely. Like, she's been like posting like little like encouraging like Bible verses of the day. And but yeah, so questions or comments?
So if we are able to like do the work and assignments and stuff, are we gonna do feedback solely through like Sync Sketch? Or
My guess is this is my very rough idea of how we can compose this class, right? If you can do the work at home, which maybe is the first question, how many of you think if they shut down the labs, you can continue to work from home?
A bit, yeah.
I
Just
can
without
to
it.
an
I can
extent.
animate, but I
Yeah,
can't
that's
render.
okay.
Yeah.
I got 3 computers,
Yeah.
so I can
I'll
definitely
play
render.
one.
I have a
stuff
tiny
out.
laptop, I can use my end, that's it.
If people, you know how Unreal stuff is like really quick with rendering time, maybe put it in there just a bit.
Well, I mean, I think what it may end up being is that would be a caveat to it. Maybe the rest of this class, the stuff you turn in doesn't have to be rendered, it just has to be placeholder. And so that's sort of a workaround. So there were a handful of people who said they couldn't, who don't think that they would be able to work from home right now.
it's like an
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, is the hold up software or is it hardware or both? Both.
For me, it's the working environment, because I work at home, I got a dog downstairs who always wants attention and stuff,
Yeah.
so I have to probably leave and like go to the library or something.
Oh, fair enough. So both hardware. So to me, that's not
Weird stuff.
Not to diminish that that need, but that's reassuring that it's only 2 people who are not able to work from home. That is something that we could mitigate that, right? We could potentially be able to get you a computer to work from home with. I think the other thing to question is, what if the answer is that everybody has to leave ETSU, like you work from your home?
Yeah.
Like if you you have to go back to your mom and dad's house, you have to go back to wherever they close down the dorms and stuff like that. Does that impact you in terms of like being able to get on the internet or anything like that? Does that change the situation for anyone?
No, but I have an 8-hour drive back.
Well,
Yeah, I'm going
No.
home for spring break and I don't know how long I'm gonna be home.
The second one is house. I have a lot of responsibilities back at home. I also have a dog to take care of. Things from the house I need to do, so it can be kind of distracting having
Yeah.
both things at the same time.
I think it's not ideal by any means. I don't know what the answer is there. I don't know if what they would say is we're shutting down classes, but you should still stay in the dorms, or you're allowed to still stay in the dorms.
Is that downstairs?
Yeah, that's Hannibal's class.
Because Livingston speakers are still inside the ceiling.
He finally found the ladder, so
Oh, good.
so we're getting closer. I'll try to project upward. So I think that's that is a concern. And I mean, like stuff like going to the library or something like that to work on it. Those computers may not work.
Well, I want to comment before, and I feel like this would be more of a concern for like underclassmen, but in my visual effects compositing class, we started using cinema, and I had no idea
I have a feeling that the way we teach the class would have to change. Well, I don't have a feeling. If we go completely online, the structure of that would have to be different too, right? My assumption is we would still try to meet every day at our class time in Zoom for the lecture part of it, which would be difficult. Yeah.
This might also just be a my situation, I don't have access to a tablet, so
Yeah,
I do most of my work from TV, so it'd be really difficult for me to do that without having this.
Yeah, I think that's something we would have to kind of figure out too. Like, would we just check out one of the Cintiqs in the lab too? Like, I don't know. I mean, that would be my assumption that we would do something like that. If we do you have to work from home. Again, I want to reiterate, like, it's we're good, like, this has never happened. I mean, it happened before, but it was like 1918, and like they didn't have to worry about the Cintiqs and the towers at that point. The different situation. We're really trying to, like, we will jump through hoops for you. Like that, don't, like I am completely prepared to go off the beaten path to make this work for you all if we have to. So I mean, I don't think that anything is out of the question in that regard. Well, really, I think we just gotta have to see what we do. So I think these are good concerns. But the thing I hadn't really thought about as much was the idea that if you're not working here in the labs, that you may have, and you have to work from like home, that the environment may not be conducive to that. Like you may not have a place that is a dedicated workplace for you at home all the time. That is something I think we have to kind of consider. I'm also personally a proponent of recognizing that the grade of incomplete is for extenuating circumstances. If you have a death in the family, you have something happens, you can get a grade of incomplete that allows you more time to finish it up. And I think that those are going to be given out a little bit more easily in this situation. If what happens is no matter what we do, it still has not changed or it still has not been something that is doable for you all to work from home, that we could possibly extend that grade. Or an incomplete is basically you don't get a grade in the class and we give you a year, or you get a grade of I, and then you get a year to make up whatever required work to replace that Y or that I with your final grade. I don't think that's something we would do across the board, but like again, like we really do not want this to be like that year that screwed up your college career, right? Or that semester that screwed up your college career. Like we're really trying to. Hi Sierra, wave to Sierra.
Sierra, don't let her in. She's pointing.
Okay. We're talking about coronavirus, Sierra. You got any input?
I do.
You do?
You tell us.
No.
I think that it was caused by alcohol.
Like rubbing alcohol?
Yeah, no, like wheat being fermented, becoming alcohol. That's why they named it the coronavirus, right?
Anybody got for that?
Yeah. I can't remember if it was you that I talked to that had done this, but what is the formatting generally for like Animator Mentor, right? Like how do they usually format these online classes?
Oh, Animation Mentor.
Yeah.
It is very much Animation Mentor was because I took classes there. It was a pre-recorded lecture, which was usually like very well produced, like examples. Some of it was them working on some stuff. Some of it was like recorded footage of like the things you'll be animating, and like a pre-composed lecture that was about an hour long. A one-on-one like critique session where you would be showing your progress. And then you would turn in something at the end of the week. So it was a weekly stretch where it was like lecture, face to face, like Skype chat type. I don't remember what they called those, workshops or something like that, where the teacher would review some of your work. You get Q&A sessions, what they call it.
Yeah.
They would review some work. Sometimes they would give another little mini lecture there or something like that. And then you would have a project that was due at the end of the week that everybody could comment on. I think we could, I don't want to say we would approximate that because this is a little bit of a different thing, and I don't think the thing we have time to do is to pre-compose all of those lectures. Like if we were putting this class online as something we would offer every semester online, we could do that. But the way it would have to be now is sort of what we're doing live in class, we would do through Zoom. We would all just meet in class, do the Zoom meetings, and I would record those so you would still have those to watch later, and then you would be working on your own time. Feedback wise, the critiques would be different, and I don't know if we would do a live critique or we would do like, was it Dustin that said the idea of like doing a sync sketch critique?
Maybe like Discord.
Discord.
Chat.
Probably. Well, I mean, more than likely, what we could also do is we could leverage D2L, just create a discussion board for those, and everybody would post their work there and give comments. You could record feedback videos or whatever you wanted to do. The critique would happen there, and it would probably be over the period of like a week or something instead of just like you have 5 minutes to say whatever. That would be my guess. So this is my thoughts. Like if you have thoughts too, like toss them out there. But I do like the idea that Animation Mentor really pioneered that idea, like this is how it can be done online, and then all the other animation schools kind of copied it and do something similar, sometimes even better. I don't think that we could completely do that because it would require a lot of it would require a lot of time in advance to make that content that is usually delivered live. But I have all those lectures ready to give live and just record them. The plan. So.
Could you not just reuse the lectures from previous years since you already have them up on YouTube and everything?
We could. At very worst case scenarios, we can't have live meetings, and I put links to previous classes recordings on there. What I would really like to do is just use those as supplemental. Like after we've done the one-on-one, I would give you the link to last year's video, and you can go back and watch that. So, other questions or concerns or yeah.
So I came in late, so this might have already been covered, but Marty sent out an email saying that as much as power that you guys will have, we're gonna keep these labs open.
That's the hope, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to say that's the hope. As much power as we have, but at the same time, if keeping these labs open just becomes this, a place where it puts you in danger to be here. I mean.
But isn't that our own fault at that point?
Yeah, but we provide. Yeah, I get that. Like, I think that it's really he's saying as much power as we have in terms of that. Like, the university decides at what level of lockdown this building is. And so, like, if you try to come here on Christmas Day, you'll be like, why is my card not working, right? In fact, I'm not even for sure if my card works on Christmas Day. I have to use a key. Right?
Can we talk about key and just why are you
There's like a long
These are
line.
serious solutions.
A line say like at Home Depot being like, yeah, I need like 300 of these. Could we get the one with Mickey Mouse on the key?
Yes. We'll just partner up,
Probably not.
If you do leave the labs open, if you manage to, or if you need some ideas of how to make the labs more safer, then for some thoughts, and people might hate me for this, but put some more strict on the rules, like say less food in the building. People can come in and out at a certain time, like the building shuts down at 5 o'clock or something.
Yeah, I think with all of those things you have to consider too. Like, if we leave the building open, that means we're also obligating custodial crew to come in and clean the building every day. Like, there's a lot of things that like is not just about like the people who are using its safety. It's the or not safety, but just like the situation. It's it's how it affects it as a larger system. I do think like right now I think the CDC is doing the social distancing, which is trying to stay 6 feet apart from each other. And I don't know that that's possible in a full classroom of the lab, right? Yeah, really, we're all probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 feet apart from each other, which means like it would have to be something like you can't sit next to someone at a computer. You have to be 2 computers away, right? And when you look at that, then this lab can really only hold maybe like 6, 7 people at the most, right? And even on top of that, like really, then we're saying, go in and use that computer at your own risk. And if you catch the coronavirus, there's nothing really stopping you from saying the university said I could and I caught the coronavirus, so I'm going to sue them. My feelings is like they're going to be pretty. We're only going to have so much control of that. Like the people who are at the state level or even at the university level will make decisions that sort of takes the entire thing into consideration. And it may be that we just don't have access to the labs. What we were talking about, Sierra, before you got here, is the possibility if that happens and we do continue to have classes and people don't have a computer to use, could we send like basically deconstruct the render farm and send you each home with a render farm computer, right? It's a little bit slower, but would run Maya because it's running Maya on the render farm, right? If you have to have a Cintiq,
like a full computer?
Here's a chassis.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
like big boy.
Maybe. I don't know. Like,
Okay.
like that are things that like that was a comment we had. It's actually not sending you home with a computer isn't the hard part. It's that once you get that computer home, it's not going to work because it's dependent on the network here to get its licenses. So really the question is, how do we get you licenses? Do we re-image every computer in this building and send you home with one? Again, none of these are things we've said we're doing. All of these are things that we're considering, and I want your input in it. Biggest thing is I want you to know that we're thinking about it. We're not just like, we'll see. Like we're trying to come up with solutions that are going to be positive results for you. Yeah.
So I know they're supposed to make a decision by spring break, presumably today. How do you guys know much about that, or is it just you're waiting to hear from the higher up?
They recognize if they told me something, I would have just came in here and told it to you. So, I'm not a very trustworthy person in that regard. I'll just leak a secret in a minute. Not really. I'm actually pretty good at keeping secrets, but I feel like above all, our responsibility is to you all first, right? To make sure that we've provided like you are the reason we're here, right? So if somebody told me, hey, they're going to cancel classes and all the students are going to be left hanging, I would just start telling them all. So they don't tell us. So, we know about as much as you all do. Maybe a touch more in terms of this is what the university is asking questions about or considering. But really, like the decisions come from the big decisions, like canceling travel. Like I got that email at the same time you all did. All of those things come from on high at pretty much the president's office is the one that's making these decisions. Whatever decision they make changes the decisions that we can make, right? And so I think that that's what we're doing is whatever decisions are made at the higher levels, how do we respond to that and still try to keep this from hurting you in any way? Hurting your academic career, hurting your education.
I don't know if this is covered, because I have talked with Marty and his class too about it. How do you think graduating will look?
We kind of briefly touched on that. I don't know. I really think that's I think the hope right now that everybody has is that the sun will come out and kill all the creepy crawlies, right? And the summer, like a little bit, like they didn't even discontinue travel for the rest of the semester. They just did it through the end of April, right? Which gives us like another couple weeks after that. It's still part of the semester. I think what they're doing is they're taking it a few months at a time and let's see where we're going to be at then.
It's better than just canceling the whole semester.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
UT's only online till April 3rd.
who is?
UT's only online till April 3rd.
Really? Yeah, so like they may, the hope is April 3rd comes around and then they're like, everything's okay, let's go back to class,
They
right?
could extend classes, yeah, because you know how we usually end class by the end of like May, the first week or second week. They could extend class to maybe like to the end of May.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things into consideration, like, do we say, time out, pick this up in the summer, we'll see you back here then? You know, like, I don't think that's one they would choose, but,
Super excited about that.
yeah. Yeah, I don't like that idea either, I had stuff planned.
See you then, Greg.
See y'all in the summer. No. Again, I wanna reiterate, all of this is like speculation, all of this is more of like, it's better to have this stuff out in the open and talking about it and coming up with ideas. Like one of you may have sitting in your brain right now the idea that fixes everything, or at least fixes a big part of it. And I want you to feel free to share that and just have an open conversation. You have that idea?
We talked to engineering students.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this is a long process. We get them to build us a machine, we put on a helmet and we transfer like thoughts and skills. We all take turns with the helmet. You transfer your animation skills to every single one of us. So that we have that building, you're getting me, that building block, right?
Yeah.
Enough to be able to graduate and then focus more and improve our skills after.
The helmet's problematic though, because if everyone's sharing it, then it's.
But do you also get
the coronavirus, but you also know how to animate.
But do you also get like my traumatic childhood memories and stuff like that too?
We'd be so close after that.
I'll go first.
I'll go first.
Sadly, no one grade ate lunch today.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't ate much. I had a snack. It was a pretty good little cereal bar. So, all right. Other questions, comments, thoughts?
So how likely would the option be of just leasing out the equipment to students during the online period be?
I don't know. That is something we're talking about a lot to see if it's doable.
If it's going to transfer to online for either a short period of time or the rest of the semester, at least for me personally, the option I would be the most comfortable with would be the leasing out stuff, because at least I could still use things. I just have to get used to the environment and just
Yeah.
work from there.
Right. Well, so, and I mean, I do think we have to prepare for the idea that just to make it equitable, our answer may be, you still get all of the lectures, you're just not required to turn anything else in the rest of the semester too. And that means, I know that kind of sucks. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks for everybody else in America too. And so it's not really like you're falling behind like SCAD. SCAD's not going to be able to finish this either. I don't think that that's probably what's going to happen. What I do want to say is like, let's say let's say the decision comes down like Berea's decision, and it's like, whatever your grade is today, that's your grade for the class, and have a good summer, right? Let's imagine that's the answer they come up with. I recognize that, well, unlike a lot of classes, you all are like, oh man, I gotta stop animating, right? Like that's actually not something you would want, right? But outside of class, I will continue to record the lectures, and I'll make sure you get all of the lectures from this class either way, right?
Thank you, Brett.
I want to make sure that you don't feel shortchanged in any way. But again, this is something that's never really happened in this century for sure. But like since we all were driving cars, like the last time this happened, it happened on horseback. Like we have to, or at least in America. Right?
Spanish influenza?
Yeah, Spanish influenza.
Yeah.
So, which I just realized this morning is probably what killed my great grandma. So my grandma has this like story of her mom being really sick and like all this. And I was like, oh yeah, that was probably Spanish influenza, wasn't it?
Besides how like New York was like epidemic,
Yeah.
and then there was affecting small populations.
Right. And that was very scary. Like in the 80s, like the AIDS epidemic was like everybody was like terrified it was just going to wipe out humanity. Like that it was like, this probably is not going to wipe out humanity. Right? And actually I think the thing to recognize is what we're doing right now is to minimize impact, right? If we did absolutely nothing, the numbers are pretty scary. It's like 500,000 dead or something like that. When we do a lot of cautious things like this, that number starts to go down and everything starts to level out. And really the whole point of it is to get through this as unscathed as possible as a society. So, yeah, sorry y'all have to deal with this on top of everything else in the world. But I will say, just a quick note, I do think this is bringing to light a lot of the things that are broken in the world. And I think that we're going to start seeing these topics come up, right? The fact that a lot of people are going to lose their jobs and there's no safety net for any of that, right? Or not lose their jobs, just not be able to be paid. There's no safety net for any of that. And like how, the fact that this is happening in an election year is interesting.
A good number of jobs are basically destroyed now. Cruise ship industries, those are gone. Travel industries are basically dead. A lot of conventions are destroyed, and all that kind of like very heavy sort of like sort of jobs with a lot of people and small space. It was basically dead, or at least for now destroyed.
Sorry, now I forgot. Who was actually like? It started with your wife works in healthcare, and then it moved on to like an actual serious thing, and now I completely lost it. I'm sorry. I'm glad she's okay.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Can she smell again?
Yes, she can. Yeah, she's good. So my wife's been sick for a couple weeks, but it's not been the coronavirus, because if it was, she would have been patient 0 in the U.S. So like January.
That was it. Refunds. If school just says this is the grades you get, we just don't get refunds for that semester.
Do we get revisions of those things either? I feel like that's a big thing.
Revisions of that.
I was really banking on that revision.
Would counseling still do services if they move to online?
I don't know. That is a good question. I know that every department is being told to consider what this would look like, right? Like what it could look like, and to be making plans for that. I would imagine, stuff like that, certain services. I mean, and I think that there are things that international travel is canceled, right? Like you can't leave the country now and go somewhere. And we have a pretty significant number of international students. Like we can't just say, good luck on the streets, right? Like there is an answer that is being addressed with that of like housing for stuff like that. Some of you maybe aren't even international, and we have to, hopefully we're considering that too, like that you don't have somewhere else to go other than the dorm. You don't have a place. So I really, as much as I don't always have faith in the government's way of dealing with stuff, I do strangely have faith in ETSU's way of dealing with it. I don't think that they're going to do anything to harm their students. I think that they will, even if they are like, everybody has to get out of the dorms, if you're like, I can't get out of the dorms, I think that they will have already considered that and have a way for you to stay. Right? I think that it would be wrong for them to not. So.
Can we live on your brother-in-law's farm? With the cows?
Well, like live on them as in, can we eat the cows? Or like live on them as in like hang out with the cows?
Like we get the construction engineers. We're always engineers.
And transfer the cow's thoughts. Is this where you're going with this?
Why don't we take the labs and push them somewhere else?
Yeah, I was saying, they're all on wheels, you notice. We just see a beeline of our computers headed toward the dorms.
That's true.
Well, that funny enough, that actually happened once. According to GIS, like back in like early 2000s, he used to work at a computer graphics place, and just right out of the blue, they were like, "Yeah, we're gone. This company's basically destroyed. Take whatever you want. Have fun." And they basically just stole a bunch of computers. And that's how they did a bunch of their. That's how they trained themselves in Flash.
That's awesome.
Because they just stole stuff.
I once went to an auction at what was the name of the studio? Big Huge Games. Big Huge Games closed down, and I went to an auction for all of the computers at Big Huge Games, and all of the former employees at big, huge games were there bidding on the computer they used to work on. And they're like, I'll give you $500 for that computer. And like, it was a weird auction, you know. I went to try to buy a Cintiq, but they went for way too much. So, other questions or comments about this? I know it's scary. I know like having these conversations somehow makes it a little more scary or a little more real. I don't want it. This shouldn't be scaring you. This should be like we're preparing for it, right? That's my. Like, you know, you mentioned my wife, but that's kind of how she does things. Like she's like, all right, this may be happening. I'm going to go into it as informed as I can possibly be. I think that's what we're trying to do, is to make sure that you're as informed and as prepared as possible. Sure.
I was gonna say, have you guys thought about doing a FileZilla server so we can have remote access to the server here?
FileZilla server.
So I asked Livingston about that.
He
and
said what?
Livingston said no. The school won't let us do that. If you guys can have, like, teachers can have VPN access.
We can have VPN access.
The students can't. It breaks the privacy policy.
Well, so here's the the email Marty sent out. I think what we've tried to do is we've looked through all the classes that are offered this semester, and that's one of the things that should be in the survey. All of the classes that are offered this semester, what software are you going to need? Which ones can you get for free if you have a computer, right? Like if you have your computer at home, you can get Maya. It's not going to be as fast, but you can get it, right? But you can't get like Adobe. And so like one of the things that has came up is that, well, not everybody needs all of Adobe, right? Like for this class here, we don't need all of it. We really just need a way to take our image sequences and compile those, right? If we just turn in play blasts, we don't need it at all. But the vector class needs it. Right?
I need it to render my stuff. At least I need Premiere.
Oh yeah, you need something for an image sequence, right?
Yeah.
So for image sequences, we could do something like one shot just to compile a series of image sequences or something like that. But they're like, who is it that absolutely has to have it? And let's make up a number. Let's say 50 people in our department have to have the Adobe software suite, right? Out of the 300. Well, that's one of the things that, you know, we have the digital media fee that goes into a budget. Usually that budget is for student travel and stuff like that. We've talked about like, well, let's just buy 50 licenses of Adobe and give them to the people who need them for those classes, right? For 2 months, and then we just cancel those two. So again, like the hope is that none of this costs you extra money in any way or costs you any problems. It's not, nothing is decided, and there's no like workflow for any of this yet. And so that's one of the reasons I'm taking time in this class to have this conversation to see what is the workflow that you could use. Like again, you all are bringing up stuff that had not occurred to me. That'll help us when it comes time and the university says, okay, it's time to make this decision. How are you going to do this? We'll be able to do it in a way that is helpful. Again, I want to mention, like, this is not like we're going to make a rule and everything is going to fall under that umbrella. Like, we've never done this before either, right? And like not everything fits into the same shape, right? There's no perfect answer for this, and my thoughts on it is that I am completely willing to. Every person in this class may end up with a different experience of how this works out for them, right? One person, we may be like, okay, yeah, we'll buy you some software. One person may be like, hey, we'll get you a computer. Like, if it comes down to it, we will find a way to get you the stuff you need to do this. Like, we're not going to leave you hanging. Yeah, I'll stop. Here.
Sorry, this question is in the scenario that we do our online classes.
Okay.
Or I guess in general, if we do get sick via flu or COVID-19, what is the absences? Like,
we'll excuse those.
yeah, I figured.
I get you.
I just thought it was something we should talk about.
It is. I can't speak for the entire university. I think what I would think is, I mean, it would happen the same way with anybody else during the regular semester, right? Let's say a regular semester you've got skin cancer or something like that, right? We're not gonna be like, well, you better take care of that. 2 absences are gonna fail, right? Like it's an excused absence up to a point that you are gonna be unable to pass the class. And at that point, where it's an extenuating circumstance, there's a couple of options that people would have for something like that. One of them is withdrawal, which is you drop all of your classes with a grade of a W, and it doesn't impact your GPA. You just get to retake those classes and replace that W with whatever you would want. At this point, withdrawal is what people use when something crazy happens in their life and they're just like, I need to leave school a month before classes are over, right? I don't know if withdrawal would be the right answer depending on when it would happen. If let's say you caught this and you only had like 1 project left to do, probably what it would be then is a grade of an incomplete, and you have a year to make up that grade. Or there's also potential, I guess, that you could probably do a letter to turn that into a W or something like that if you need to. Ideally, that won't happen. But you know, if it does, like, I think that I think that there is currently a pathway to deal with each of those situations, but if they're not, I think that a pathway will be made for it, that there will be answers for it. You know, like they're having to deal with a lot of stuff. Like some people already paid for travel, international and domestic, out of their own pocket, right? And the places that they're going won't reimburse that. And in part of the letter, ETSU said you'll be reimbursed for that. So I mean, I think that to me that was an example that ETSU is going to try to do right by you. I honestly believe that. And if not, come tell me and I'll go fight for you. But I get you. Like that is something I don't think I would be worried about. I don't say would be worried about. I don't think that I would make the biggest concern that you might like fail a class because of something out of your control. Right? Like that is the stuff that we're trying to prevent from happening. It's still possible you could fail a class because of something within your control. Right? We go to online classes and you're like, I'm not going to watch any of those or turn in any of the projects. Yeah, you can still fail the class. And I mean, it's not going to be easy on anybody, but I think that we can still pull it off. I think we're capable of this. Other comments or questions? Okay. Did this help or did this just make you nervous?
No, it helped. It helped
Okay.
answer a lot of questions.
I still
I get it. Yeah. If we need to talk about it more, I'll be here all day today, all day tomorrow. Swing by and we'll chat and we'll come up with some stuff. If you have ideas, email them to me, bring them to me, talk to Marty about them. All of this is stuff like, you know, there's 7 of us or 8 of us. I don't remember how many faculty there's. There's like 300 of you all. So 307 is better than 7. Right? So if you come up with some ideas, like bring them about. And I mean, I think it's something to be thinking about how you're going to respond to whatever happens to, right? Like what is the thing that you may have to start planning for right now as a response to it. So. All right, now, does anybody feel like learning today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Teach me pantomiming. What is pantomiming? Is that just acting? Was that words?
Sierra wants to learn.
I'm filled with questions.
Filled with questions. So most of today's lecture, let's do this. I'm going to hit stop on this video. That way we can break it up into 2 videos.